Hello all, welcome you to the course on corporate laws and governance. In this video, we are going to learn about the prohibition of abuse of dominance. First, let us understand what is a dominant position for an enterprise. According to the competition law, dominant position means a position of strength enjoyed by an enterprise in the relevant market in India, which enables it to operate independently of the competitive forces in the relevant market, and they could affect the competitors, consumers, or the relevant market in its favor. Being dominant is not illegal. Only thing, when a company is going to misuse its dominant position to its favor or against the interest of the stakeholders in the market, then it is considered to be illegal and it is prohibited. Section 4, subsection 1 of the Competition Act provides that no enterprise or group shall abuse its dominant position. Now let us learn about the relevant market, because whenever the Competition Commission of India checks the abuse of dominant position, it always defines the relevant market in which the company operates. There are two types of relevant market. One is the relevant product market, another is the relevant geographic market. Relevant product market has two sides. One is the demand side, another is the supply side. When we talk about the demand side, we are talking about the consumers. And what is the relevant product market for at the demand side? Relevant product market means when the consumers can substitute or interchange the goods and services, maybe in terms of the prices or in terms of the product characteristics or in terms of its intended use, then it is considered to be the relevant product market. Section 19, subsection 7 of the Competition Act lists the various factors that would be considered by the Competition Commission of India in defining the relevant product market. They are the physical characteristics or the end use of the goods, price of the goods or services, consumer preferences, exclusion of in-house production. That means when the company is going to outsource the whole product or the services or part of the product or services. Existence of specialized producers, that means it includes those companies who concentrate on niche segments, and the classification of the industrial goods. When we look at on the supply side, we talk about the interchangeability and the substitutability of the raw materials or any other equipments that are needed for the production of goods or services by the producer. When they can interchange or substitute any of the materials or the equipments for the production, then that is considered to be the relevant product market from the supply side. Then what is a relevant geographical market? Relevant geographical market means when the conditions of sale are distinctly homogeneous for a specific geographical area, and when these conditions of sale are going to be differentiable from the neighboring area, then that particular area is considered to be the relevant geographic market. Section 19, subsection 6 of the Competition Act looks at various factors in defining the relevant geographic market. like the regulatory trade barriers that a particular industry and the enterprises face, the local specification requirements that the companies will have at the time of the procurement of the goods and services, the different procurement policies which the industry or the enterprise is expected to follow, adequate distribution facilities, transportation costs, language, consumer preference and need for secure or regular supplies. All these factors are considered by the Competition Commission of India while defining the relevant geographic market in order to assess the anti-competitive behavior by the company. For instance, for a cement company, maybe the transportation cost would be exorbitant. Maybe for that particular case, all the areas that are nearer to the manufacturing facility could be considered as the relevant geographic market. Now, let us see what are all the factors that determines the dominance of a company. Section 19, subsection 4 of the Competition Act deals with these factors which would be considered by the Competition Commission of India to assess the dominance of a particular company. It is not that a company would be considered dominant just because the company holds a very high market share in a particular industry. There are many other factors which are considered while determining the dominance of a company. For instance, the size of the company and the resources that it has would be one of the factors which would be taken into consideration to assess the dominance. Sometimes how the extent to which the consumers are dependent on the particular company for its products and services also determine the dominance. There are circumstances certain companies would be enjoying the dominance or the monopoly power because of the statute, because of the government statutory power. Certain departments, government departments would be enjoying the dominance or the monopoly power. We always talk about the first mover advantage. When a company is going to enter into a particular industry first, it has certain advantage. It could be to do with very strong vertical integration, or it could be to do with the very powerful financial strength, or it could be to do with the patents or the rights that they have over the innovation. All these first mover advantage may create entry barriers to other companies in the particular industry. Sometimes it is not that the consumers would be more dependent on the company. There are chances the consumers would be dictating terms to the companies because of their high purchasing power, which we call it as countervailing buying power of the consumers. So, in order to determine the dominance of the company, there are many factors that are taken into consideration by the Competition Commission of India. Now, let us see what are all the aspects that would be taken into consideration to check whether a particular company has abused its dominant position. Section 4, subsection 2 of the Competition Act deals with the identification of abusive use of dominant position. When an enterprise or group of enterprises are going to involve themselves in either directly or indirectly in unfair or biased trade practices with respect to the condition of sale of the sale or the purchase of goods or services, then it would be concluded that the company has abused its dominant position. Similarly, if the enterprise or the group of enterprises are going to get themselves involved in the unfair or biased trade practices either directly or indirectly with respect to the prices that they charge for the goods and services, then again it would be considered as the abuse of the dominant position. When the enterprise or the group of enterprises are going to limit or restrict the production or the supply of goods and or services, then they are said to be involved in the abuse of the dominant position. Similarly, when the enterprises or group of enterprises are going to limit or restrict the technical or scientific development in the product or the services, which actually hampers the interest of the consumers, then it is said to be the abuse of the dominant position. Sometimes the companies involve themselves in such kind of acts which denies the market access to other players in the industry. When they are going to get into such practices, then it is considered to be the abuse of the dominant position. Sometimes the enterprise may be using its power in one relevant market in order to protect its position in another relevant market. Even this is considered to be the abuse of the dominant position. When we say power, we mean the dominance that it has in the one relevant market. When they are going to use their dominant power in one relevant market in order to protect their position in another relevant market, even this is said to be the abuse of dominant position. Sometimes what happens when an enterprise enters into a contract with one of the stakeholders, they may come with the supplementary obligations which would be nothing to do with the subject matter of the contract that they are planning to enter with, but they would be compelling the stakeholder to accept the supplementary obligations to go ahead with the original contract. Such kind of activities are said to be the abuse of the dominant position by the company. Now, let us look at some of the case laws with respect to the abuse of dominant position by different companies. The first case what we have is Anuj Kumar Bhatti versus Sony Entertainment Television. Here, the informant alleged that the Sony Entertainment Television used its dominant position in order to come with the unfair selection method of the contestants to participate in the program Kaun Banega Crorepati. And they were also telling like the kind of question, the selection of questions were also very discriminatory for the quiz program. When the Competition Commission of India inquired this particular matter, they concluded that this Kaun Banega Crorepati, the quiz program, which was aired in the prime time in Hindi channel, it was not enjoying a very dominant position in terms of viewership. And not only that, the consumers had different choices of choosing programs in the prime time. So there was no compulsion for the consumers to see only this particular quiz program during the prime time. So all these made it very clear that the company Sony Entertainment Television was not enjoying a dominant position with respect to the airing of the quiz program Kaun Banega Crorepati, as a result of which the case was closed. The next case what we have is the case between Faridabad Industries Association versus Adani Gas Limited. Here, the informant alleged that the agreement, the gas supply agreement that the Adani Gas Limited had with the Faridabad Industries Association was unfair, and they alleged that the agreement was unilateral and it was against the interest of the companies who were part of this Faridabad Industries Association. There were nearly 90 companies who were part of this Faridabad Industries Association, and whatever gas supply agreement that Adani Gas Limited had was against the interest, in the sense it was unfair and it was totally unilateral, where there were no participation of the other parties at the time of the framing of the agreement, and they felt that they were total, and this Adani Gas Limited could come with this unfair conditions mainly because of its dominant position in the market. When the Competition Commission of India was investigating this particular case, first they defined the relevant market, the relevant product market and the relevant geographic market, and they also checked whether Adani was enjoying the dominance in that particular market, and the next they checked whether there was any abuse of dominant position by Adani Gas Limited. And in this particular case, if we look at it, the relevant product market was the natural gas. And though Adani Gas Limited told that there were other substitutes that was available to the consumers as well as to the companies for natural gas, but the Competition Commission of India concluded that natural gas has its unique uses and there were consumers and the producers who were dependent on the usage of natural gas for specific purposes. So, the relevant product market was defined as the natural gas. With respect to the geographical market, it was concluded that Faridabad would be considered as the relevant geographical market for this particular case, for the reason Adani Gas Limited was awarded the contract by the ministry to supply the natural gas to the companies and the consumers in the area of Faridabad, and Adani Gas Limited had the contract with GAIL for supply of the gas to the consumers as well as the companies. So, it clearly this was made clear by the Competition Commission of India that the relevant geographical area was Faridabad for the supply of natural gas. Did Adani Gas Limited have dominant position in the market? Here it was proved that it was Adani Gas Limited was the only one to supply the natural gas due to the award of the contract, and not only that, this particular contract would be valid for a specific time period. So, there was a dominant position for Adani Gas Limited in this particular case. Did they misuse their dominant position? There were many allegations by the Faridabad Industries Association with respect to the unfair conditions on different classes of the agreement, the gas supply agreement. Not that all the classes were unfair, but the commission found out that there were few classes like billing and payment and other few classes which were unfair, which were discriminatory, as a result of which the Competition Commission of India penalized the Adani Gas Limited to the tune of 25.67 crores. Next, we will move on to the case between Shri Shamsher Kataria versus Honda CL Cars India Limited and others. In this particular case, the informant alleged that three companies, Honda, Fiat and Volkswagen, they had a dominant position in the spare parts market. And in fact, the spare parts market was a closed one because these companies had mandated all the authorized dealers to acquire the the spare parts from the original equipment manufacturers, and these original equipment manufacturers were supplying it only to the authorized dealers, as a result of which the independent repairers as well as the unauthorized dealers did not have access to these spare parts, and even if they were trying to access these spare parts, they had to pay a huge amount to get it. So, what the informants felt was these companies were denying the market access to the independent repairers as well as to these unauthorized dealers, because they couldn't get the spare parts in the open market, and they could get only from only the authorized dealers could get these spare parts from the original equipment manufacturers. And the Competition Commission of India looked into this particular matter, and they felt that these companies were in fact kept this spare parts market closed, and these independent repairers and the unauthorized dealers could not get access to the spare parts. So, there was in fact denial of market access to these independent players as such. Not only that, these car companies were actually using their dominant position in the spare parts market in protecting their position in the after sales market. So, there are two different markets, one is the spare parts market, another is after sales market. So, they could use their dominant position in the spare parts market in order to protect their position in the after sales market, which was considered to be unfair. So, as a result of which the Competition Commission of India in fact penalized these car companies to the extent of 2% of the total turnover of the companies in India. But what happened, these companies went for an appeal. Even in the appeal, it was confirmed that these companies were into denial of market access to the independent repairers as well as the unauthorized dealers. Only thing, the penalty got reduced from 2% of the total turnover in India to 2% of the average relevant turnover. When we say average relevant turnover, it means the average of the turnover only in the spare parts market in the preceding 3 financial years. Next, let us move on to the case between Bel Air Owners Association versus DLF. If we look at this particular case, the informant alleged that the agreement that they had with DLF, which we call that as a apartment buyers agreement, the agreement was said to be unfair on different grounds. The first one was like when a DLF came out with an advertisement for the construction of the particular apartment, they told that they will be going with 19 floors. But later on, they increased the number of floors from 19 to 29. As a result of which, so with this itself was considered to be unfair in nature, and later on they told like those who have already booked the apartments, they can go for changing their apartments to the upper floors. This particular action is considered to be discriminatory against the buyers of the flats in that particular apartment. Again, they told that like in the agreement there was one more thing, like if there is going to be delay in the construction of the project, the flat owners are liable for the compensation in the delay, but this liability can happen only when the flat owners are ready to pay the holding charges, that is the maintenance charges, which were actually exorbitant. This condition was also considered to be unfair to the to the flat owners. Not only that, because of the increase in the number of floors from 19 to 29, what happened? The common area got shrunk. Not only that, what happened? The flat owners had to share the flat and other amenities like the gymnasium or the swimming pool with more number of people than it was intended at the time of the advertisement. So, all these were considered to be unfair and discriminatory from the point of view of the flat owners. When the Competition Commission of India looked into this particular market, particular case, and they were first defining what was the relevant market, what was the relevant product market, and what was the relevant geographical market, and where DLF actually in a dominant position in that particular market. All these were checked. The relevant product market was defined by the Competition Commission as the luxury apartments, because a luxury apartments cannot be substituted or interchanged with an ordinary apartment. A luxury apartment comes with different amenities like the swimming pool, gymnasium, or for that matter a store inside. So, it has many amenities which the ordinary apartments will not have. So, the product market, the relevant product market in this particular case is the luxury apartment. With respect to the relevant geographical area, again the Competition Commission of India made it very clear it is only the Gurgaon area where the construction happened, because the owners, the flat owners may not be buying such an apartment in other neighboring areas. It cannot be equated with buying such a luxurious apartment in Gurgaon. So, again, so the relevant geographical area for that particular, for this particular case was the Gurgaon only the Gurgaon area, not the neighboring areas, as there is no interchangeability or the substitutability of the luxury apartments with the similar apartments in other areas. So, that was considered to be the relevant geographical market. Did DLF have a dominant position here? That is the next question. When Competition Commission of India looked into the market, what they found out was DLF was having nearly 45% of market share in that particular area, which was double that of the next player in the market. So, this is one point. It is not the only case. They had this first mover advantage, in the sense they had a brand and they had this brand reputation, and they were very good in their vertical integration, as well as they had a sufficient financial strength compared to other players in that particular relevant geographical market. So, it was concluded that DLF was having a dominant position there. Did DLF misuse its dominant position? So, the Competition Commission of India made it, when in their investigation, they confirmed that there were misuse of the dominant position. First, when they raised the number of floors from 19 to 29. This was an unfair condition in the agreement, because in the advertisement it was 19, later on they increased it. There were discriminatory practices when they told like the flat owners can change the apartment from one floor to another. So, this was considered to be the discriminatory against the buyers of flats in DLF. Next was the unfair conditions, like where the flat owners had to share the amenities with more people what it was intended earlier, and the common area also got shrunk for the flat owners, and they had to bear the holding charges in order to claim the compensation for any kind of delay in the project. All these were considered to be unfair, and what the Competition Commission of India did was it penalized DLF to the extent of 6,300 million rupees, and which was nearly 7% of the average turnover of DLF for the past 3 financial years. And they were also asked to come out with changes in their agreement. The next case that we are going to look at is Sai Varda Power Limited versus Coal India Limited. The informant alleged that Coal India was having an agreement, the fuel supply agreement with the power companies, and they were delaying the execution of this the fuel supply agreement, which was unilateral. Again, it was unilateral, unfair, where they didn't get the views of the stakeholders while coming out with this particular agreement. When the Competition Commission of India looked into the market, the particular case, they defined the relevant product market, relevant geographical market. They also checked whether Coal India and its subsidiaries were enjoying dominant position in the market, and did they misuse the dominant position. First, with respect to the relevant product market, here if you look at it, the relevant product market is said to be the non-coking coal. So, that is the raw material that the power manufacturers were using in order to generate power. So, this non-coking coal is the relevant product, and it was supplied only by the Coal India Limited, because these power companies had specifications with respect to the kind of coal they need for the generation of the power, and Coal India was supplying it, as a result of which the relevant geographical market was considered to be only India. And the international market was not included with respect to the relevant geographical market, for the reason these power companies were dependent on the type of coal that was supplied by Coal India, which matched the specification of these power companies for the generation of power. Even when they go, so they were unable to import these kinds of coal. That is one reason. Even when they are going to import these coal, what happened? No, they had to pay a higher price for this coal because of the import duties, tariffs, etc. So, the relevant product market was the non-coking coal, and the relevant geographical market was considered to be India, and the international market or the import was not included into the relevant geographical area. Did Coal India enjoyed dominant position here? They did enjoy the dominant position, for the reason they were the only suppliers. When we say Coal India and its subsidiaries, they were the only supplier to these power companies, and the power companies were totally dependent on Coal India and their subsidiary for the supply of coal. So, they were actually in a dominant position. Did they misuse their dominant position? There were provisions in the agreement, in the new agreement that Coal India had come out with, that is the fuel supply agreement. Here it was told that the company, these power companies cannot ask for an appraisal of the quality of the coal again. So, they cannot again ask for the quality check of the coal. It would be graded only one time. So, regrading was not allowed by the Coal India in their new agreement. Actually, in their previous agreement, whenever the power companies felt that the coal to be regraded, that provision was there where it would be regraded again. But now in the new agreement, only grading would be done only once, and regrading will not be done by the coal whenever the power companies want. So, this was actually considered to be unfair. And previously in the agreement, in the previous agreement, they would be checking the quality both at the time of loading as well as unloading of the coal, which we call it as sampling. Sampling would be done both at the loading and the unloading time, but as per the new agreement, this sampling can be done only once, only at the time of loading, not at the time of unloading. This was also considered to be unfair. Another allegation was to do with the price. The Coal India and its subsidiaries have increased the price of the coal from rupees 1,631 per metric ton to rupees 2,177, and there was no substantial reason given by Coal India for this exorbitant increase in the price of coal. So all these were considered to be unfair and discriminatory in nature, as a result of which the Competition Commission of India, they fined them to the extent of 1,773 crores. But Coal India and its subsidiaries went for an appeal, but the appellate tribunal confirmed that there were violations or the misuse of the dominant position. Only thing, they reduced the penalty to 591 crore rupees, which was actually 1% of their average turnover. And moreover, this agreement, whatever the fuel supply agreement, was considered to be unilateral. That was also confirmed for the reason the entire agreement was done only by the Ministry of Power and by the Council of Electric Authority of India. So none of the stakeholders were involved in framing this new agreement. So the Competition Commission of India asked Coal India to come out with changes in the agreement. Next, we move on to the last case with respect to the abuse of dominant position. This is between Mr. Umar Javed and others versus Google LLC. Here the informant alleged that Google was misusing its dominant position, and they were actually misusing their dominant position through different types of agreements, like the mobile application distribution agreement. This agreement ensures that the mobile manufacturers, the original equipment manufacturers of mobile phones, have to pre-install all the Google mobile suite, which consists of Gmail, Google Chrome, we talk about the Google Play Store, all these Google Maps, all these have to be pre-installed in the mobile phones by the original equipment manufacturers. So this was considered to be pretty unfair, for the reason those who want to have, even the mobile original equipment manufacturers would be having their own applications. So what happens, because of this pre-installation, it creates a anti-competitive environment. Next agreement was to do with the anti-fragmentation agreement as well as the Android compatibility commitment agreement. This agreement ensures that the original equipment manufacturers do not go for developing mobile phones using the Android forks. They have to be dependent only on the Android OS, and they cannot go for any other variant of the Android operating system to develop their mobile phone. One more agreement was to do with the revenue sharing agreement. This revenue sharing agreement ensures that the Google search services are given importance over the other search services because of the revenue generating capacity of the Google. And the Competition Commission of India identified the different markets here which was actually misused by Google. These markets were the market for the licensable operating system for smart mobile devices in India, then the market for App Store for Android smart mobile operating system in India, market for general web search services in India, market for non-operating system specific mobile web browsers in India, and market for online video hosting platform in India. We can understand that the geographical market, the relevant geographical market that was taken for this particular case was India. When we look at the dominant position, did Google enjoy dominant position? So though it was told like Google had to compete with Apple, with Apple's iOS, Competition Commission of India concluded that Google definitely had a very dominant position in the market, because we cannot say that in the sense the business model of Apple is totally different from the business model of Google, where Apple is totally dependent on its very strong vertical integration and the production of high-end mobile phones for a specific set of consumers. But when we look at Google, Google's Android market is for a larger section of people. So definitely we cannot say like maybe at the time of choosing the mobile phone, people may be thinking about comparing Apple with Google, but once we get into this Android operating system, it was Google that was dominating the market. And the Competition Commission of India also made it very clear that Google India, they actually misused their dominant position, where they were actually using their dominant position in the App Store in order to protect their business with respect to the general web search services, and they were actually using their dominant position in the App Store in order to protect their position in the online video hosting platform, as well as to protect their position in the non-OS specific mobile web browsers. So it was told by the Competition Commission of India to Google to make changes in their agreements. They should allow the original equipment manufacturers the freedom to install. They should not compel these mobile manufacturers to pre-install the Google mobile suite for the reason that the other players should also be given a competitive footing, and it is up to the company to decide whether to pre-install it or not. They cannot connect this pre-installing of these Google apps with the Google Play Store. Yes, that it should not be connected, where they should not stop the different app developers to list their apps in the Google Play Store because of this pre-installation because of not pre-installing the Google mobile services as such, and they should not be incentivizing the original equipment manufacturers for pre-installing it. Even the consumers should be given the right to uninstall any of the Google apps if they want to. They cannot make it mandatory that these apps should be there in the mobile phone. So all these things have to be modified by the Google. And not only that, the Competition Commission of India penalized the Google to the extent of 1,337 crores because of the misuse of its dominant position. Now let us look at what are all the consequences that we have with respect to the abuse of dominance. One is one consequence is the Competition Commission of India will ask the companies to discontinue the abuse. The next, they may impose penalty which will not exceed 10% of the average turnover of the preceding 3 financial year of the company, or they may be telling the enterprise to abide by any such order which the commission passes, and they will have to comply with all the directions that the commission expects them to follow, which also includes the payment of cost. The Competition Commission of India has the power to divide the enterprise if they feel that particular enterprise enjoys dominance. So, these are all the consequences of the abuse of dominance which is dealt by section 27 of the Competition Act. Thanks for listening.